Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. I was just going to say, I'm not going to tell him the names you were calling me right before we came live. I won't
Princess
do
Leia?
it.
That name? It's not an insult.
Oh my gosh, that name. My daughter is like in full on like Taylor Swift mode.
Oh, what does that mean?
So every girl that comes to my house, like they're like talking. It's like, oh my gosh, like, have you heard Taylor's newest album? It's wonderful.
Is that how Taylor talks?
I don't think so. I've never talked to her, so I can't vouch. But
well, I don't think I've watched an interview with her in as long as I can remember, because I am not particularly a Swiftie. I'm not a Swiftie. I'm not investigated, if that makes sense.
Right.
I do know she puts on a mean concert, because I had several people went to her concert in Nashville, and it was just, the feedback was just that girlfriend is on the top of her game. It's Wayne. It's Wayne from Egypt. Wayne.
Camel Wayne.
Wayne, what languages do you speak?
Coast Guard, English.
Well, I'm fluent in 4 languages.
Okay, I'm gonna. What languages are those, Honore?
English, Franglish, which is my version of French and English that I can cobble together, snark, and sarcasm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the sarcasm thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't speak Franglish whatsoever.
No Franglish?
Not at all. I speak Spanglish a little bit, but not Franglish.
Yeah. I guess I do a little Spanglish, but more Franglish than Spanglish.
Now, I did work with a guy, some Turkish and Arabic, still learning English.
Still learning English. Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Wayne's wife.
I get a book edited. I'm like, that's not what that word means. Oh, wait, I've been using it wrong my entire life. Okay.
Forever. His Wayne's wife is Turkish by birth.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So she can teach you some Turkish.
She could.
They say the best way to learn a language is to be in a relationship with someone who's a native speaker.
This way you're forced into learning all the terrible things they call you behind your back.
No, it's you have someone that can. It's like my French teacher is Parisian, and just having that consistent correction conversation is very helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then studying outside of those conversations, I've heard, is also helpful.
Yeah, when I took Spanish for 4 years in high school. No, it doesn't sound as advanced as it was. I only got through Spanish 2, but I took 4 years of Spanish in high school. And in those 4 years, I was like, all right, I got this, I can do this. And then I joined the service, and I'm down in the Caribbean, and I'm with Spanish speakers, and I don't got this. Right? It was like to your point,
the speed at which people speak.
Yeah, not only that, but like you learn a very like not, I'm going to say formal, but you kind of learn the official language from a correct language perspective, and it's not how people speak in the day-to-day.
I guess so there's a couple of folks, one of them is American and one of them is French, and they run like a street French. Like their brand is street French. And it's like, what do you really speak when you, because there's je suis and then there's suis.
Oh.
Like I am or I'm.
All right. Okay. I got you.
So but they don't spell it suis. If you write it, you have to write it correctly, whereas we write contractions. And also the French eat an awful lot of their letters.
Oh.
There are several words that end in like AIENT, and you don't say any of that.
Oh. So they have silent letters.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And then they eat a lot of their words. And so suis is je suis, if you say it correctly. Suis.
I'd be a mess learning French.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm not. I am not saying I am not, because there's no way to learn that particular way to speak unless you're
Right.
just speaking to someone. So anyway, how are you? It's Thursday again. How did we get to Thursday? I feel like
Yeah.
it's like watching your kids grow, right? It's like the days are like do 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 do. Yesterday was the longest day in the history of days, but then whoop, here we are. It's Thursday again. Whoop, here we are. It's Thursday again.
Yeah, it's been a really good week, but it would kind of fitting for the topic today. Not saying we could segue right now, but like,
We're not segueing right
yeah,
now.
I'm
Lucas.
not
Settle
segueing.
down. Settle
Yeah,
down right now.
it's been a very productive writing week, but it was a different writing week. Like
Wow.
I uh, am almost always just open valve, close valve, right? Like just
Oh,
super
with your
flow.
fiction writing.
Yeah.
That's a
And
good place to be. Don't tell people that. They might cut you.
yeah. Well, I felt a little odd talking to Zach earlier in the week because he's like, "Hey, you good?" And I'm like, "I'm good, but I'm slower. Like my writing's flowing, but it's flowing like
And he's
sweet
probably like, I
molasses."
will cut you. And is he going to Vegas?
No. He heard we were going. He's like, "I'm not going." No, he's not had plans to go. He's planned not to be in attendance for months because he has a conflict. So
Okay. Is the conflict like gallbladder surgery?
not whatever his conflict is. It's not. And Zach, I know you're not watching this, but if you do listen to this or watch this, I hope you're
He doesn't.
laughing right now because everyone, all your cool friends will be there. We'll be
Yeah.
there. Jay Thorne will be there.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. We're all going to be there without you. Even
now,
Byron. Even Byron is going. Even Byron.
Byron's going.
Yeah.
I
My
would have
God.
talked. Tammy would have went if anyone want to buy kids, just hit me up. I've got some kids I could easily
Don't
pawn
say
off on you
that.
for a
Don't
week.
say that. That's not even funny. No. That's not a funny joke right now, Lucas.
Yeah.
Watch the news. That's not a funny joke. No.
Yeah. Right. But the thing with like with the writing was like, I've got a little writer's molasses going here. And part of it's
Did
because
you
I
not
edit as
read
I
my
write.
book, Lucas?
I did, but I edit
I
as
have
I
writer's
write.
molasses. There is no such thing as writer's molasses.
Well, I will never say I have writer's block because I'm the furthest thing from having writer's block. I
Yeah.
I
No.
just roll, but I was rolling a little slower than I was in a school zone this week. I was like doing 25 instead of 50, but part of it was because, and I think this is just part of like learning how you think and how you write and how things work. But for me, I'm very careful, like when I'm stepping through parts of stories, like I'm like, I have to be really careful about how I do this chapter, for example.
Okay.
And sometimes they're not the ones you think they would be. Like the high action, high pace ones, they just fly out of me. But sometimes the space between those things is more sensitive to me
Okay.
because I'm more sensitive to that as a reader. Like to me, it's like I'm more engaged. Got it. Check. But in
Okay.
the periods where things aren't quite as fast or quite as involved, I think you have to be really careful about how you treat those to elevate them a bit. Also, to make it not feel like I don't want people's attention to go somewhere else. I want it to be just as good
Yeah. You
as
want them to just not want to look away, right?
right.
Like page to page. Like there are some books that are like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when I sit down with that author, I better have nothing else that I want to do.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Because I know it's going to be like, and then I'll be annoyed if someone talks to me, and then I'll be rude, and then I'll get in trouble.
Anne Rice was hard for me. And I love Anne Rice. And I love her stories.
What do you mean?
She goes, oh, so Anne Rice, for those that aren't familiar, I'm not saying this is
Interview with a Vampire, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah. And she did Interview with the Vampire. She did these entire like witch chronicle, like series, like, and they're books, man. They're not like short. And so when you pick these things up, you're in for it. Like you pick that thing up and you're like, whew, I can feel the story before I open the page. Right. Like, and then you start reading and you're like, oh my gosh, like prolific writer, but also just deep character development. And like, you're like learning like hundreds of years of family history and all this stuff. And like, you got to have your game going for reading those types of stories.
A thinking reader.
My mind is
Right? You have
like,
to be a thinking reader. It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
bubblegum stuff.
Right. And so, when you write like she did, you have to be really calculated in doing that so you don't lose people. And
Have
she's,
you looked into her methodology? Like, did she keep
no,
track of it with a spreadsheet, or was it in her head?
I
Or,
have no idea.
you're a famous author when someone who refuses, not just doesn't read your genre, but refuses to read your genre, knows who you are.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't accidentally not read Anne Rice.
No, I didn't accidentally not read it. I went, no, 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 no.
Now, I will say this, those who are unfamiliar with the last few years of her writing life would may be surprised to know that she was a converted Christian. And in the last few years of her life, or of her writing time, she created stories about the life of Jesus. And they're very different in storyline from things like Interview with
Huh,
a Vampire.
okay.
But here is this
What a great
exceptional
title, by the way.
Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. She's killing it.
what?
Which
Yeah.
is, one of the things we're talking about today is like there's some things that are just non-negotiable,
Yes, I have my
right?
notes.
Right? Non-negotiable with when it comes to writing, whether it's fiction or nonfiction or whatever. So what
Yeah.
about you? Like what's going on? How are things going with you? How's your week? What are you reading? What's going on?
What am I reading? I am reading I'm reading this book as my nonfiction.
Oh yeah.
Have you read this one?
I haven't read it, but I have it because
I've
someone
read
I
it.
know
Someone
is
who's awesome gave it to you. I know.
it's really nice and gave me a copy.
So one of my author friends, Stephanie Bond, writes these fun serials 6 months at a time. That's one of the things I'm writing for next year is a serial. And so it's the second of the month. On the first of the month, you can get the whole month's serial. So I get to read that.
Oh, good.
I get to read that maybe today.
Is it the whole month you're going to read?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Some people can't do
like
it.
in an hour. Like in an hour. Yeah.
You and Tammy are the same creature.
It's super fun. And then December the 1st, I'll be doing that. I am reading, let's see, I have to get out I have several different books right now because I am someone accused me of being ADD the other day, and I was like, no, I just have a lot I'm doing. Rude.
Is that someone that you're married to?
No. Oh no. No. So I'm reading by Tanya Kappas, who is an author who is just a talk about prolifery.
You blew my mind with her numbers.
One book a month, 150,000 word book a month. And her husband posted a picture of her like this. Only she looks cuter than that. As she was driving, she's written 900,000 words this year.
Oh my gosh.
900,000 words. And she's not alone. I mean, we're going to talk about being prolific, but so I'm reading 4-Leaf Felony. So she has this series.
Oh, that's a cool title.
Yeah, that is cozy mysteries related to holidays. So she released Thanksgiving Treachery, but I haven't finished reading 4-Leaf Felony yet. So I'm way back in April. Because I'm also reading, because she has 200 titles now, or almost 200 titles. And so I've only read like 8 of her titles. So I'm just like working my way.
Get to work, Honoré.
Yeah. So that's what my upcoming holiday break is.
Wow.
I'm really excited about my few weeks of break that are coming up. So I can just read. Somebody said, well, what do you do when you're not writing books and not reading books? I'm like, I write books and read books on my vacation because that's fun. Because it's fun for me. So I'm reading that. I'm going to read Holiday Girl. So let me go over to Audible because
that's Stephanie Bond.
Right. Yep. And then I have my Audible. I'm reading 3 Feet from Gold by Sharon Lecter, which is a Napoleon Hill reference.
Okay.
The brand new book by Mary Gabriel that is titled Madonna, and it's 40 hours. 40 hours of audio. Yeah.
Wow.
So way back and just And I
Wow,
happen to know,
40.
yep, Byron and I happen to be very good friends with one of her producers. So I'm waiting to see if he's mentioned anywhere in this book. And
40 hours.
I finished Be Useful by Arnold Schwarzenegger, which he narrated, which was fun, and Unreasonable Hospitality. So those were my two from last week. Yeah. So.
I listened to, so for those that don't know, Audible, Amazon did an exclusive round of books for the spooky season for October. And they got some big names like Joe Hill, who's Stephen King's son, Paul Tremblay, who wrote.
I keep forgetting that.
Yeah, I know. And his stuff is excellent. He's, he stands on his own for sure.
Okay.
Paul Tremblay.
Also very cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Also, he probably had a good mentor.
He's learned a couple things.
Yeah.
So Paul Tremblay's In Bloom was a short story, not 40 hours, 1 hour and 2 minutes. So they wrote like a bunch of short stories for the October run, and you could get all of them in ebook and in audiobook, like that.
Okay.
So that was really cool. I listened to that one, and I'm reading The Darkest Night, which is
who is that?
Big shout out to a friend of mine, Antonia Rachel Ward, who is an indie publisher. She owns Ghost Orchid Press in the UK.
Ooh, what a cool name for a publishing
company. Yeah, so Ghost Orchid Press is her baby, and she just published a book titled Dreamscape. And right before she put Dreamscape out, she dropped a prequel novella like out of the blue and was like, hey, check out The Darkest Night. This is like a prequel to the book that's coming out in 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, I got to pick that up. So
that's so nice when your readers are like, what is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I picked both of those up. Now it did do something to my schedule. It delayed me reading Dreamscape because now I'm like, I got to read The Darkest Night first. So I'm doing that. And I picked up The Daughters of Block Island, who Krista Carmen wrote. I hear that is just a phenomenal book. And I haven't opened it yet, but I just picked that up as well. So that's my weekly reading.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah. I just, my thing is I need to stop doing most of my reading right before I go to sleep because it's like a magic sleeping pill for me. Like read out. And then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, did I like flip through 5 pages while I was sleeping?
Oh yeah. I have that problem sometimes. Sometimes I can't even start reading. Like last night, I was so tired that I might have been asleep before, or I was falling asleep as I was turning the light out. Something like that.
So
I don't remember anything about it. Just
about last night. It's just out.
Anything could have happened. I think Byron was grinding coffee because when I went to bed, there was no ground coffee. And when I woke up, there was coffee made.
And you slept through that.
And I slept through the coffee grinder.
Wow.
Which, that the coffee grinder and my pillow are maybe 10 feet from each other.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy that you slept through that. You were tired.
Yes. Yeah.
But there's a reason you were tired outside of all the other fun things in life. You are uber productive and you worked hard yesterday. You had a really productive day. And every time we have a conversation where you like tell me about how productive your day was, or I share like how proud I am of something I've done that day. Is like, one day I'll be like, I wrote 5,000 words and you're like, you're a maniac. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
But we laugh and we also go, that's the stuff, right? Your day yesterday is the stuff that makes your writing business what it is. And
someone said that's what you get paid the big bucks for. And I'm like, well, there is that. There is. I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I went to bed very tired, more tired than I would have preferred. However,
you earned your keep.
I wouldn't have it any other way. I'll take that over I don't have any work.
Right.
Or I'm stressed about something else. Right.
Yeah. Sure.
So, yeah.
So when we talked about yesterday and you and I were reflecting on some things because, we're like two little kids in a candy shop every time we talk about writing or what's going on with a book that we read, or like someone like Tanya Kappas or Stephanie Bond and what we're watching and seeing and learning and all the things. There are just some things that are just non-negotiable if you really want to hit that top stride as a writer. And whether you ever aim to do it or not, I think it's good to know about those things, to just be aware of those things.
Not wonder why you're not successful.
Right.
If you're not successful, knowing what the fundamental ingredients are for successful writers, and they're all the same, and every single real successful writer will tell you they are all the same.
Right. Right.
What are they? No.
So someone chime in and give us a few.
Yeah.
Well, one that I think is, I was lamenting about this, and we're not lamenting. I was commenting on this. I'm definitely not lamenting about this, but
no, we're not lamenting.
I was commenting on this the other day. I've been reading too much horror, as you can tell. Content being king. It's just, I don't care if you're in the course space, if you're a creative entrepreneur, you're creating content. If you're a writer, you're definitely on the hook for the writing.
You have to write. There is no, said another way, the best way to sell your current or your previous books is to write your new book. The best way to sell a song is to sell another song, right? The best, right? I mean, it's like the consistency in creating content is king, right? So I guess content is king and consistency is queen.
Or we could flip them. Well, depending on where you're at, sometimes,
yeah. But I mean, it's why am I up 300% this year over last year? Because this year I have published 6 new titles, 7 titles total, because I did a redo of a previous title. I have one more that's coming for this year. And then the 2 for Q1 of 24 are done. They're in production.
You just made me jealous right there.
I have one fiction. If you were inside my head right now, you wouldn't be jealous.
Because my Q1s are not
another thing. My spreadsheet's another thing. I was updating my spreadsheet. My spreadsheet might make you jealous, but you're going to get there, and then I'm going to be your friend, right? I'm going to be like, he's my friend. He's my friend. I'm going to be name dropping. I'm going to be like at the Kroger, in like some small town. Be like, are you a reader? Do you know who Elsie Marino is? Yeah, he's my friend. Just letting you know.
My daughter makes fun of me because one time we were in the store and someone goes, "Oh, do you write? What do you write?" And I said, "I write horror." And Maddie immediately goes, "I write horror." And so now everywhere we go, she says,
"There's nothing like your children to keep you humble, right?"
Like, I dislike you. I'm not feeding you later.
We have a guest.
Hey, Rogue, what's up?
Well, come here. Come up here.
Rogue is consistent. If you want to talk about consistency.
Hey, where are your manners?
She's taking over. She's doing what she wants to do.
She's like, I don't get to jump up all the time. Mom tells me to sit, so she's not giving me that treat, so I better sit.
So I would like to peel one more layer off the content thing before we move on, if I can.
Yeah.
Only because I watch this and my heart breaks every time I see it or hear it. But then I also go, well, does that surprise you? And that is when I see people that are writing all the time, or they tell people they're writing all the time, but they never put this stuff out there.
Oh, right.
I mean, they get a backlog.
Yes, the Magic Coffee Fairy just delivered the carafe. Thank you, Magic Coffee Fairy.
Have your fairy text my fairy.
Please text Lucas's Coffee Fairy and ask her to deliver some coffee. I was like, please don't even just bring me a cup. Just bring me the carafe. Like, that's where we are today. That's where we are today. So the carafe is on the desk.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just, creating content is one thing, but publishing the content, you can't sell something that's not available to buy.
So I'm writing a little bit of fiction, and I do not have the confidence in my fiction writing yet.
Right.
Not yet. That I will have when I have been to the dance a couple of times. I
Sure.
will definitely have to have someone go through and be like, "What is this? What are we doing here?"
Right.
Right? I'm going to be Karen from Will and Grace, or my editor is going to be Karen from Will and Grace. Honey, what's this? What are you doing? What's going on here? Right? Like, this has to go. But I'm forcing myself with fiction molasses brain to I'm just writing it anyway. I'm just writing it anyway, and then I'm going to just publish it anyway, because I have to have a first.
Got to get it out there.
I have to have a first book to make fun of myself for later. Right? So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's seriously, you have to. And I love your point about having that editor as that person, because I feel like this, some people might be surprised to hear that an honorary curator, someone who's already published, over 50, 60 books, still has that moment where they're like, hey, like, I'm going to put this thing out there eventually, and I'm just not sure it's right where it needs to be yet. And part of it's my experience with writing this particular type of thing. And part of it is that there's magic behind the scenes on anything you write. That's beyond us.
The team. It is the team. The team.
And so I had a conversation with a small bookshop owner last week, who we were talking about the difference in the indie publishing market between professional authors in the indie publishing market and people who are cutting corners, and how that bookshop has a hard time selling corner cutters. And I asked him, if you had some feedback for me as a local indie author, selling books through someone like you, and you've been in the industry for 25 years. This guy's been selling books
he's seen a lot.
He knows what's working. He said, hey man, all I can tell you is, like, when your book looks professional and your book reads professionally, like, it looks like a real thing and it feels like a real thing, and it's a real thing, and people will come back for it. But the one thing you can't get away with is cutting corners that make it not a real thing, like not editing or having really poor cover selection.
Right.
I mean, those two things right there are death strokes to an indie author.
It is an interesting conversation that you have to have with yourself to invest the time and the money into your book. And if you don't take the time to analyze the market and you're willing to spend the money, you're going to be disappointed by the sales. Because if you put a lot of, money into your memoir, or you put a lot of money into your How to Knit Kitten Leg Warmers book,
right,
and you get some leg warmers for your kitten, and you get a really cute kitten, and you put the leg warmers on them, and you have a professional photo shoot, and you have a professional cover designer design your cover, there's still only 3 people who would think, oh, I'm going to get this book on kitten leg warmers, and you're going to get 1% market penetration, which means no one's buying your book. You might sell one to your mom just because she feels sorry for you.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So when people put an awful lot of money into a book that isn't going to sell, that's a bummer. And when people put no money into a book that if they had put some money into it, if they just weren't, oh, I'm just going to design my cover myself. I mean, when I hear that, like, I can't even say, there's nothing to say to that. Unless you're a professional cover designer and a writer, please don't design your cover. You're doing your book a disservice. Just wait until you can invest the money into your cover.
Right. And I do know some people that are writers and they do covers for other writers. And even they will, even if they create their own cover, they don't trust themselves to use it without other people's feedback.
Yes. Get some feedback on it from someone who knows. This is not an A/B, get the general public's opinion. I think indie authors are the only authors that do that. Traditional publishers don't do that. Hybrid publishers don't do that. Movie studios don't do that. Music companies don't say, well, which album cover do you all like? They're like, right. Lucas, this is the album cover you like. You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Buy here, buy now. They're not questioning people. They're not crowdsourcing that information because the crowd does not know. They don't have that professional eye. So content is king. Quality is, I don't know, the king of another country.
It's huge. It's huge. It's non-negotiable.
Yep.
So when I put this
Consistency is
book out,
important,
I was not like, I don't do covers, right? I'm not a cover designer.
right? Right.
This cover designer does this genre and related genres for a living.
Yes.
And Dino does his genres, his nonfiction covers for a
Yep.
living. And
Yep.
when Dino handed me a cover, I'm like, yeah, it's perfect. And when Joy handed me a cover,
Yeah.
Clarissa, it's perfect. And
what did you pay for that cover? Can you give us a ballpark?
I'm not allowed to say it out loud.
Okay.
But it was
what's the retail price of it be?
Of the book?
Yeah, of the cover. What would the cover?
You talking about how much I would pay to have that cover designed?
Yes.
Only external, starting at $300 and moving up.
Okay.
Depending on the thick of, the book design.
And is that the suite? Is that the front, the full, the square? No.
Yeah.
So just the front cover is $300 for that design. And then to pull it through to a full cover, if you want to do a hardcover, if you want to do a square for the audiobook, if you want to do an inside black and white mirror image, those are all in addition.
Right. Yeah. So it depends on how you publish the book as well. So like, since I did the interior design in Atticus, you can load, like to get the interior cover page, right? You can load that image in to Atticus, just like you can with Vellum. With the back cover, she did do the back cover like she did the full cover design, right, for me. However, if you want this in a hardcover, that's a separate cover.
Of course, it's different dimensions.
Right now, you're not paying. Right. And it's the different dimensions, they have a different file they have to use depending on who you're publishing with.
That's right. Yeah.
All the things. So yeah, it does stack up. The audiobook cover has to be square. It's got to have room, the way things are placed.
So Dino just charges for I call it the cover suite. It's everything that you need. So you can have all of the files that you need for all of the different ways to publish it. And just in case you need them later. Because it would be hard. You'd be hard pressed if something happened to your designer to go back and get a square cover later.
Right.
It's better to just, in my opinion,
buy the whole thing.
Buy the, but what was the package when you were a kid? We'd get like, how many photos do you want? Do you want just the 8x10 or do you want the 470 wallet photos too? Because, you need 1 8x10, 2 5x7.
That's it. Yep.
14 4x6s and 400 wallet pictures, right? And you just paid, you ponied up the $40 or $60 or whatever it was to get all of the things so that you might need them later.
Yeah.
I think that was a colossal waste of money, whereas what we are doing is not. But I think it's really good to have that because the square image for the audiobook is also great for social media. You can do all of that. And then Dino will give me the cover on a white background, the cover on the background that's the similar shade to what the cover is.
Transparent.
The transparent, the PNG, where it's on it, where it's kind of like, it's not the front like this, it's the front like this. So it's angled a little bit. So it looks kind of nice. And so I can change up what goes out in my newsletter. I think that's helpful.
And Dino does a lot of custom design stuff that if it doesn't matter who you're paying, they are going to be charging custom rates, right? Like my fonts were custom. I had putting a pinstripe around a cover is a huge pain for a designer, guys.
It is. Yeah.
So the little stuff like that,
because it has to be what he's talking about, folks, is it has to be equidistant.
Right.
All the way around when it's printed. And so that's not amateur hour.
Right. Yeah.
That's not you design your cover in Word or whatever.
And one other thing that and this is like a risk, this is like a pothole you can easily step in as a writer, and you can't get this back. You cannot get this back. And it goes to your point about writing to your market, like know who you're shopping your book to, like know what they want to read. But the reality is the cover and the description sell the book, and your social media and your conversations and other readers sell your book. And so if your market, and this has been a daily thing I'm seeing and hearing with my book, the cover, they see the cover, people see this cover, they assume what genre it's in.
They
assume what the topic is. they get it all. Like, and you can have any title here you want, right? And they still make assumptions about what's going on here just based on the
Yep.
imagery.
Yep.
And then the title being aligned with it just kind of puts it all like, they're like, oh, that's a book about X or in this X genre. Now,
Well, yeah, I mean, and you go, is that what I'm going to read or is it not?
right.
You,
And
it's an unconscious buying decision almost. If it looks crappy, if it doesn't look well done, if it
not
looks
genre
cheap,
specific.
if it's not genre specific, if right, all the things.
Yep.
So I think that you said it first. No, I said it. So we have content, we have consistency, we have covers. I think another thing is writing to market. There's a huge discrepancy or disagreement that people have is it's like, you know, writing with the tropes in mind, the points that you have to hit, right? You have to have the meet cute in a romance or a rom-com, right? You have to have when they come together, there has to be some kind of a conflict or several conflicts. There has to be a point where it looks like they're going to get together. And then there has to be a point where it looks like they're never going to get together. Like all is lost. And then there has to be that happily ever after. So if at the end of a rom-com, one of the people dies, there will be an uproar because that's not how it's done.
It better be after all those other things have happened.
Well, no, it has to. And that's the whole point. In your book, somebody has to die.
And I'm glad you said somebody, because Zach would be laughing right now. He'd be like, yes, Lucas, are you listening? Not everybody.
In Lucas's book, everyone has to die. But in a rom-com, there is no death.
Right.
But nobody ever dies. They might be sick for 5. They might have the sniffles.
Right.
But there's no real tragedy that happens. There's no real conflict. As a matter of fact, in that type of a book, there is nothing like, it's the difference between like Hallmark and Lifetime. Like in a Lifetime movie, they can be cheating, alcoholism, right? Maybe a little burn the bed, right? But on Hallmark, there's no. It's like they just didn't see eye to eye and they broke up.
It's all feel good stuff.
Everybody feels good, even if they feel terrible. They still feel good. Yeah. So it's writing to market is knowing what your market expects and giving them something original-ish that meets their expectations. And those are the authors that make the most, is the ones that consistently create content, i.e. publish books that are quality, that are written to market, that meet the expectations of the reader.
And I really think
that's not sexy.
No, I was just getting ready to say, some people really struggle with wanting to do that. And and to me, it's always one of those things where my business head is at. I go, well, you can write whatever you want, but you shouldn't expect that whatever you want is going to sell.
Right. And just because you get 5 people to read it and they go, this is amazing, does not mean it's going to hit word of mouth. It has to hit the tropes. You have to
satisfy people.
Check the boxes.
And so if that's what it takes to satisfy the reader, or you can satisfy them in some other way, they have to leave satisfied. So if you, I was a little worried about that writing my first fiction series in haunted house ish genre, because it's not a pure haunted house story. And I was like, oh man, am I going to screw with the genre too much will I be setting myself up for a little risk here if I don't do certain things? Am I willing to not do certain things in the book? And then of course I looked at the certain things and I went, oh, I can make all that fun, so we're good. But the moment I start arguing with the reader,
no, you can't argue with the reader.
Yeah, that's where your brain has to go, hold on a second, red flag, or write the damn thing and just be happy you wrote it, and that some people will enjoy it and there will be people that don't.
Right. Or that just be happy with your time at bat.
Yep. But don't be mad when it's not.
Don't be mad when it doesn't take over the bestseller list.
That's right.
So covers don't scrimp on the cover or the design. Right to market, content, consistency. I'm falling asleep, Lucas, with this advice, right? It's like, Oh, the sound is not so great. But I don't want to name the post that we were reading or the person because I don't want to send a whole bunch of more people. But but the other thing was the blurb, right? Which said another way is the back cover copy, the sales copy, the retail
book description
page, book description. Who does your blurbs for your fiction?
Yeah, so that is one of the things I'm more touchy about, because I do believe no matter what we say, a book does get judged by its cover. And I say that's the front and the back cover, not just the front. The front gets me to pick it up. The back cover gets me to buy it. And
Right.
I
Well,
think
the
that
back cover, the description is what converts.
right.
The cover
And
might get them in, but if the back cover doesn't sell them,
that's right.
then you're
And
not
when I
gonna
say
convert.
yeah, and if you're writing in such a if you're writing a book that description's on the inside or whatever, you get what we're saying. It's like
Yeah.
you have a book blurb and it is basically the pitch to the reader about
They
the
should
story.
stop everything and read your book right now.
I'm super sensitive about my fiction blurbs only because you have such limited real estate, right? To really get it. And I don't want to give away any spoilers, but some of the stuff that really makes my stories what they are the things that would be spoilers. So I'm like very sensitive about how I write them.
Mm.
But I write the draft and then I never trust myself to be the final word on whether it's good or not. I use my book coach or mentor or
Okay.
a blurb writer, people that do
Oh,
that stuff, right?
professional. Yeah, because copywriting is a very special skill, and
Yep.
back cover copywriting is next level important.
Yeah. And we just got a comment from Karen on LinkedIn. I can't see it in my chat, but I saw it on my phone and she said
It says,
that
as long as the fig doesn't die. And I think what she meant was the dog. I'm going to say fig is dog. Karen, can you hear us? Can you confirm that we don't mean fig? Because I'm pretty sure that I have some fig jam and a fig died in the making of that jam.
I've got her comment that an awesome cover is a must.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. all true. And
yeah.
yeah,
So
I just yeah, like you said, there's a copywriting is not writing like the interior of the book. It's
right.
it's a skill set that
Yeah.
that not every writer has.
Right.
And it has a lot to do
Not
with
any writer has.
no,
I mean,
like
unless they're a professional copywriter, that's not what they're doing.
right. Same with the cover design, right? So
Yeah.
I like this similarity between those two things. And this is one of the things I'm most sensitive about. And if people are listening to this and you're going, what? And then you go, oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Ready? All of my ideas for my cover were denied by my cover artist. All of them. And I didn't take it personal.
Well, how could you?
I had designed my cover, one of those covers would have most likely been there. Right? And as soon as they told me the why, I was educated. Like I have in the book, there's a scene where the bathtub is a very prominent thing in my book. A lot of stuff happens around this.
Bathtub is a very prominent scene in my life, so that's good. We have this in common.
The next book has to be about beds. Like I just like to sleep, so that'd be cool.
Perfect.
But the bathtub to me stood out as a very a key thing in the book. And so of course my brain as the writer goes, ooh, I wrote the story. I know what was important in there.
I want to put the bathtub on the cover.
We should put the bathtub on the cover.
Let's put the bathtub on the cover.
We could have the mom, all you see is a hand on the edge of the tub, the clawfoot tub. And then there's a young hand on top of it. And I thought creatively, that's really cool. And it was immediate. It was not genre relevant. Also will deceive the cover seer into thinking it's actually in this genre over here. Oh. And that is not what your story
genre
is.
has a bathtub on the cover?
Well, it was too horror for what the book was really about.
Oh, I see.
Because I'm this is not a slasher book. This is not a scary.
This is not somebody dies in the bathtub.
Yeah, this is more about the grief and the supernatural feelings and this like surreal experiences and then a crazy twist at the end and all the fun stuff. But it has nothing to do with like a scary bathroom. Like it's just
Okay.
this isn't slasher. This isn't Saw 5. so,
Okay. All right.
so,
Well, I
you
never
know,
saw that. So thank you for
well,
clearing that up for me
that
because
and the back cover copy, same thing. Like if I write the back cover copy, I'm writing it
right.
as a
Yeah.
writer.
Yep. Yep.
And they're going to go, your people that pick up your book in your genre, they want to hear certain things and they're not in here.
They're not in here.
They're
So
not in
I'm not
here.
buying it.
You didn't pull the right threads.
Yep.
And you've got what, 70,000 threads to pull out of that book. And you didn't put the right ones on the back.
That's right. That's right.
so yes,
it's not something that you take lightly. It's not something that should be taken lightly if you want to be successful. Now, if you truly aren't wanting to be a full-time writer, a full-time author, because I think we're really just mostly talking about books.
Right.
If that's not the goal, if you can be honest with yourself and just say, well, I'm not willing to do what it takes. I'm not willing to, and there's nothing, and we haven't even gotten to sales.
Right.
We haven't even gotten to book marketing yet. But if you can just be honest with yourself and say, I'm not willing to do what it takes, then just write for the love of writing.
Sure.
Write for the love of writing. Leave a bunch of stuff on your hard drive. Save your money.
Right.
Save your money.
Yeah.
Right? And just have a good time. But if you want it to be your job.
Yeah, there's nothing saying you can't come back to it later.
There's nothing to say you can't save up and come back to it later. But one book really well done is going to serve you at such a high level. You'll be hooked, but you'll be disappointed if you don't.
Yeah.
So like real talk.
That's true.
Packing from Honore.
This is one of the reasons why I sought a mentor in this space before I got in up to my knees in the mire, because I knew that there was so much I didn't know. Just from my past experiences and things with this level of depth, right? Like,
yep.
And so this is one of the reasons why, I found the Honore Quarter and decided to the Honore Quarter and decided to invest in things beyond the written word on the page so I could learn a bit more about this. And in your course, the Publishing PhD course that I first enrolled in, that's really, I was just looking for that education. Like, I want to know what a successful author knows that I don't know. Like someone that's done this, I want to know what they know. And I'm not talking about some 25-year-old that sold one book and they made $1 million off one book. Nothing wrong with being 25, nothing wrong with making $1 million off one book, but I'm looking for someone that's consistently done it and done it at a high level consistently.
Yeah. Well, that's my advice to someone is before you hire or pay for anything, a course, a book, anything, do the best you can to find the person who's the 600-pound gorilla in the space. Right. Yeah. It's someone who has never published a book, may know about book marketing in theory, but they're not a book marketing expert. Someone who has only written a few books knows about publishing a few books. They don't know about selling a lot of books, and they don't know about selling a lot of books many thousands or millions of time. It's just a fact, right? Yep. You just know more when you've done it more. You'll look back 20 books from now and go, wow, my writing is so much better than it was. Your books are going to all look fantastic, which is an edge that you have. But you're going to go back and read Bury the Child 20 or 25 or 50 books in and go, wow, I would have done this a little bit differently. I might have done that a little bit differently. And you've got arms wrapped around your process. You've got Zach and an editor and a graphic designer and a proofreader, and you've got arms wrapped around you. And you'll still look back. I still look back on, 10 books ago, 20 books ago, 30 books ago, 40 books ago and go, oh, all right. I'm not going to go back and fix them. I have only done 4 editions of one book, which is You Must Write a Book.
Right.
The 4th edition of that this year. But I'm not going to go back and fix them. I'm just going to make sure that subsequent newer books are better and apply what I've learned to those books. And you don't have 10-time book knowledge after the first book, unless you have an expert that's saying, by the way, come here.
Well, those accelerators are non-negotiable in my world because I decided to get serious about it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where when someone says, yeah, I'm serious about doing this, and you shouldn't have to question whether they're really serious or not. Like, you can tell by the way they're building their business, their brand, their product, their everything. When you introduced us to Zach at one of the Empire Builders Masterclass private small group sessions.
Mastermind.
What did I say? Masterclass? Mastermind. Sorry. Honore will make sure that I mess that up all the time.
I mess it up all the time. But when I'm not the one running my mouth, I'm more tuned in.
Yeah.
2 ears, 1 mouth.
That's it. So like when you introduced us to Zach, you're so smart. You looked at me and you just, that smile right there, do it again. You just had that smile on your face. Like, you were like, yeah, kind of told me this is what you were looking for, didn't you? Like, you said you wanted to publish serial fiction. There's a serial fiction dude who's done it really well. Why don't you just smile and shake hands and say hi?
You should talk to each other.
Yeah. And Zach has been phenomenal in the coaching and the advice on the book. He's the one that told me, like, hey, when you work with this cover artist, it's going to be different than you do with your nonfiction stuff. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I need to see your submission request to the cover artist before you send it to her. And I was like, oh. And that's, because he knew to look for certain traps, just because, like you said, from experience, he knows that a first-time author in that genre is going to make some fairly simple mistakes. And he was able to catch them before I submitted the form. He was like, hey, you're going to want to fix this. I'm vetoing that. It's like, these are the things that someone that's done series, everything down to advertising, like whether you should, he knew it was
should, how, and when.
You're right. He knew it was hurting my heart a little bit to use Bury the Child in certain ways when you're writing it. But once it's published, I'm like, yeah, let's use this thing.
Yep.
And so those are things I would have been figuring out, just trying to figure out.
Trying to figure it out. When someone can go, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this, do these 3 things, avoid this. Good, go.
Right.
So compress decades into days sometimes in terms of knowledge. So here we are almost at the top of the hour with this.
Yes.
Where are we going to be next week?
Oh my gosh. Well, a little place where the lights shine and the knowledge floweth.
Where the showgirls dance and people lose their fortunes.
There's a big event happening next week in a city and it's for people that write. Are we allowed to talk about it?
Oh yeah, of course.
20 books.
I don't think we signed any confidentiality.
Right. So, and I'm not like anything cool, like I'm not like a presenter or anything for the event. So I'm just an attendee.
Neither. Me neither. Nope.
Look at that smile. 20 books to 50K.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's my first time I'm going. Honore informed me that this thing existed when I first started looking at publishing. She's like, dude, you really have to take a look at this. And
I feel like we planned it a year ago and now we're just going. Now we're just going. It feels like it's been been a distant elephant for a long time. And here it is. Here it comes. Yep.
Yeah, we did start talking about a year ago, but part of that is because I was begging you for, like, tell me all the conferences I should go to. Tell me this, tell me that. And you were like, dude, you really need to look at this one. And I think,
who said that? I'm going to Facebook. Who said that?
Now that's the first comment I've been able to see on my screen since Wayne.
I bet it was Karen. Going here. Oh, who said that?
Oh, did you go on Facebook?
I did. I outed Karen. I outed Karen as a commenter. Look, Karen, all letters. Look at that.
Wait,
the 2 of us at an event with Byron by the way, and Amber. Amber is also going to be there.
I'm putting on the spooky font for this.
We're going to have so much fun.
I wanted Karen's name to be like this.
Karen. That's how we feel when she gets our manuscripts.
I'm terrified.
Right?
Yeah,
she
Karen.
looks all sweet.
Right.
All grandmotherly looking. And
her pen is not a pen.
No.
It's a sword. That's right. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, but just wait till the next time she gets in your book.
Well, you know, the article you and I were talking about kind of inspired our conversation. Yes. It was not an article, it was a post, and it's in the 20 books to 50K chat. And that's one of the reasons why we didn't want to.
Right. I don't want to blow up anyone's life by you know, making a bunch of sending a bunch of people. But there, you know, what's interesting about that post, and so because we're going to go in just a second, that post was written by someone who hit $1 million in income in 3 years from writing fiction.
Not too shabby.
And he went through the fundamentals of making $1 million writing fiction in 3 years. What has to happen for someone to hit that number? What do they have to do? What's their production look like? What's their publication schedule look like? What's the quality look like? Right? All the things that we talked about. And so, of course, I wanted you to see it. I wanted Byron to see it. But here's the thing. There are posts like that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's a unicorn in a herd of unicorns. Like they're right. It's a small herd.
I love that.
It's a small herd because when you think about all of the authors that want to be 7-figure authors, it's a lot of them, right? But wanting something and being committed to doing something are totally different, right? It's like saying no to something because saying yes to something and you have to say no to the other things, because when you say yes to something, you say no to everything else. So anyway, we have to go in a minute, but he's indicative of the people that I know personally who make $1 million a year, who have made $1 million cumulatively. And then there's an even smaller list of people that make $1 million a month.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, I mean, imagine making $1 million a month, which is $34,000 a day, every single day. Right? I mean, you can't live on it.
What are you going to do?
I mean, you know.
I think for a while, I just wouldn't do anything. I'd be so nervous that something was wrong. I'd be like, wait, what's wrong?
Are they going to come and take it? So anyway, it's like it's possible. It's possible. And these are indie authors, folks. These are not Stephen King. Right. These are not James Patterson. This is not J.K. Rowling. These are not the authors that you know that are household names that are really well known because they've been around a long time. This guy started in 2020.
Which that blew my mind a little bit because it shows, to your point about Stephen King or James Patterson, they did not start, nor did they gain their traction in the same type of environment whatsoever.
If you listen to the beginning of Writers Inc., the podcast, it's like they go through where people started, and it's like Stephen King started writing in the laundry room between the washer and the dryer
in 1970 something.
And I think there's something, we have to go in just a second, but I think there's something about he threw the manuscript away and his wife pulled it out of the trash can.
Carrie, yeah.
Oh, is that which one it was?
Yeah, it was Carrie. He threw it away. And his wife, Tabitha King, is also an author. And she was like, no.
No, this is good. Also, I need a new washer and dryer, Stephen.
he had so many rejections. And just to give you some perspective about, like, not you, but like everyone, some perspective about what he was doing to publish. He was sending his short fiction to the nudie mags because they were the ones paying. That's the world.
Mags. Listen to you, the nudie mags.
The nudie mags. He was sending them to the gentlemen's magazines, the Playboys, the Hustlers, all those, because they were buying short fiction.
Interesting.
And that's where he had to sell. It's crazy. And, you know,
He was a jingle writer. Didn't he write the Toys R Us theme song or something? Or was that somebody else?
I have no idea. That would be
Okay.
that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But I guess the moral of
Yeah.
the story is when you hear about the people like we saw this post, it was really enlightening for me to see someone do it in our current environment. And the other part of it was um, all his success in the first year was the fastest part of the curve. Like he went in a year, and then things stayed steadily increasing.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a point of a curve halfway through the year where it was like a drastic incline. And he says it very well in the article, that's when the titles were expanding. Like the numbers of titles were building, like putting bricks on your house.
The best way to sell your front list is to have your back list is to sell your front list, is to publish another book.
So
just keep them coming.
Well, Honore, thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah,
because I probably wouldn't have seen it because I wasn't in Facebook yesterday doing things.
Yep.
And thank you for sharing your wisdom, your experiences over the last several years. Be careful. And all the titles. And because the experiences you've had on the nonfiction side, they mirror all the things I hear and see on the fiction side. It's the same world.
The harder I work, the luckier I get. It's amazing.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. And guys, if you haven't yet heard us talk about it, you need to go check out Honore's new book. There is no such thing as writer's block.
Thank you.
And you need to go get a copy of that.
Yeah.
And just today, I recommended 2 of your other books to someone who said, hey, I'm interested in writing a nonfiction book.
Oh, great.
And I said,
we have hope for you.
I said, you need to go get these 2 books right now. One, you need to go get Best-Selling Book Formula, and you need to go write your first nonfiction book. And then once you've digested those, then you can go pick up more and do more. So
awesome. Thank you, Lucas.
Yes, ma'am. All right, guys. Well, we will talk to you later. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, do all the things. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
From a different location. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And if you want to learn a bit more about what we're talking about, head on over to empirebuildersmasterclass.com and check out Honore's publishing PhD course because it includes all the fun stuff that we talk about.
Does. All right. Awesome. Thanks,
all right, guys. Have a good week.